Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
When we first met at Sweeney's house, we were in the basement. They referred to you as Sam the intern. How
did I get into that?
Were you really an intern, or was that just like a term of endearment?
I'm going to say a little bit of both. I'll call it like a 50-50 answer, but the funny part was I used to go, so I knew about, so let me take you back even further. Sweeney was one of the camp counselors at the camp I used to go to, Oakcrest, way back in the day, right? So I knew he lived in Raritan. I heard that, right? And then one day, me and my friend were walking. I saw him outside. I was like, oh, is that the guy from camp? That's hilarious. So I connected with him. I was like, oh, dude, that's super funny. So we made that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Found that he had like some type of radio show or something at like the X something in Monmouth County. So I followed that a little bit, and I thought it was super cool. I'm like, oh my God, radio. I don't know anything. I didn't know radio didn't do nothing over then. That follows along. I stay connected with him, and then eventually, he moves over to Rutgers. Rutgers, not too far from us, right? So I was like, dude, could I come through? I want to see what that's all about. I'm trying to learn more, because my idea in high school was like, I want to see what I'm interested in. Maybe it was radio communications. Maybe it was just talking smack on the mic like you do all the time. It sounds good. It's pretty fun. So I went over there, and then obviously I was not even old enough to drive yet. So my dad drove me over. It's like, what do you do? It's like, I'm an intern. So that's where that kind of came from. Sweeney never dropped the term, but it's pretty funny other than that.
But like, what did you do? Just kind of like studied under him? Just kind of
I was just trying to see like what's up. How does that work? Like, why are these cables connected to that? Like, how do you go through the ads and stuff? I'm just trying to see what was up. Just gain more knowledge of that.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, all right, he's an intern. Showed up.
I wasn't a host. I wasn't a host, and I wasn't an assistant. So I'm like, all right, well, let's call him an intern. Whatever, hilarious kind of term. Yeah.
How long were you doing that for?
Oh, man. Let me get it clear. Definitely not a paid intern, so I can definitely not remember everything. But let me say, damn, I'm going to say since I was like 15 years old until I don't even know when I officially cut it off. I eventually turned my fun terminology to freelance worker.
Well, how old are you now?
I'm 22 now.
Okay.
23 in September.
Good amount of time.
Yeah. Listen, I haven't been involved with Keep It Basement a little bit. All love to those guys, but I will definitely say that I hope they're all crushing it. I'll talk to Sweeney early. I was checking on see how things were going. I would say I don't know, probably until I was like went away to college, so like 18 or so.
Okay,
it was a good 4 or so years.
Yeah, they seem like they kind of like are starting to drift and go do their own thing. I guess Alex is out. Is he working the road? Or,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that. You'll talk to the gentlemen themselves.
Shout out to the guys from Keep It Basement. Guys. Mike Sweeney, Tom Zappi, Alex Nicholas. You guys know him if you've watched the show. Anyway, let me do an intro because we're fucking rambling here. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B. These are coffee break conversations for the 21st century. My guest today, Sam Breitstein, local man, personal trainer, I guess would be the appropriate.
Online fitness coach is my title.
Fitness coach.
It's all good.
I notice a lot of people are starting to throw around the term coach nowadays.
Careful. You gotta be careful with that.
You do have to be careful because people are referring to themselves as coaches for like anything.
Yeah. And to be fair, you have to look at terminology. What is a coach? What do you consider that? What the definition of it? I can look it up, but something in the line of someone who professionally supports somebody through something, right? So
that's the actual.
No,
definition?
I'm making that one up, but
okay.
It's very in the air. So I guess if everybody is really a coach, then I'm definitely not a coach. I'm definitely something beyond that, because what I do is not what all these amateurs are out here doing. Anyone who calls it, you can call someone who's in your corner for a fight a coach. That's cool. I would consider that someone who's supporting you professionally along the journey. Someone who's, giving you life advice, relationship advice. I don't know if you want to claim the title of coach. It's a fine line, and that's a curious one. That's why I kind of like the idea of almost like, if you've put in the work and I wish there was some type of like organization that said like, hey, you have gone through these trials and tribulations, maybe not complete academically, but through experience, you are a coach by profession. And then it'd be kind of like the way PhD or doctors or master's degree kind of have that.
Especially if you're going to be like a personal trainer, you need to be certified. There's like all those different organizations.
And that's the thing. I don't like being called a personal trainer. By technicality, yes, what I do is personal training. I also cover nutrition, but personal trainers are a lot more involved with the statistical information. Much care more about people than I do about 45-pound iron weights.
Okay.
It's very simple. Personal trainers want to see how you hit the best. We can get the most out of this workout and blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, I do that. But I care a lot more how you're emotionally handling the process. Are we doing something that's sustainable? You're going to be able to keep this consistency up over time, or are we just going to burn you out at this rate? I don't care about numbers. I care about people. And that's the real thing I learned over my time as a personal trainer. And I'll take you back to 2017, where I think a good introduction just to this topic. But when I was in college, I went to Rowan University for finance. That didn't work out completely. I was in the gym.
Unless you're finance and protein powder here.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, definitely. I'll call that budgeting.
Yeah.
QuickBooks is great for that. But I will say that I was in the gym in college. I knew a lot of the human body because I was having my own difficulties with shoulders, and I couldn't figure it out, so I became obsessed over the problems.
What do you mean you're having difficulties with shoulders?
When I was in high school, bro, I went all out with the gym. Like I'm not the fittest dude on earth, right? And ignore my shiny eczema lotion skin right now. But when I was in high school, bro, I was like, I think I was like 5'5", and I was like 110 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a thin dude, definitely. And then I started getting really obsessively into workouts for self-conscious reasons, for not the right reasons, really. I got started with it. And I guess it's okay. It depends how you decide to look at it.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? I wouldn't say that those are not the right reasons. I mean, if you're unhappy with the way you look, if it's affecting your self-esteem,
yeah,
then, of course, and get your ass into gear.
Well, what I'll say is that it more came from the energy came from a negative source, from I feel bad about my body, I want to change. And you could look at that and say well, you know what? I wouldn't have health problems or something. So it's just a perspective dynamic on that.
Let me play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
Wouldn't you say that maybe having those negative emotions, being able to channel those into bettering yourself and growing, basically, is probably one of the best uses you can have for those negative?
I would definitely say it's better than other negative habits you can have, like gambling, drinking, and
instead of
hurting other people.
self-destructive, it's
exactly
self-improving.
Yeah, but the path I went on wasn't the best one because I was just while I did have that dynamic of okay, I'm doing this to better myself, but I looked at it more as I want to be big so I can stand out, so I can have attention and whatnot. And I guess, you know what, you can look at it both sides of the fence. There's not really a right or wrong answer, so I won't argue too much on that. But
no, I want to argue the whole time about that.
Fine, we can. But this is going to be a long conversation, and we're going to get very close with our intimate eye connection right now. Going on with the story to keep it on topic, I was training, and I have an extreme personality. So when I do something, I go all in, son. I'll talk more about that. But what happened was I just kept going further and further with this thing, and eventually, you go hard enough for long enough. I don't care how young or youthful you are. Eventually, something's gonna break. So had a little bit of a shoulder inflammation thing, but I didn't know no pain, no gain. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the name of the game. So I kept running through that, and eventually, this shoulder is actually the left shoulder. It just couldn't do overhead press anymore. It's okay, fine. We're gonna do more, horizontal pushes, bench press, and dips, and all that stuff. Eventually, that was too much for it. All right, we can still do a lot of rows and a lot of other stuff. Eventually, that came too much to it. Mm-hmm. So the idea of resting was I'm gonna lose all my muscle mass if I rest, which is complete horseshit, by the way, guys. I'll debunk that myth. You use it, you don't lose it. We could talk a lot of nutrition and fitness stuff later. But
so is it just the left shoulder, or is it both shoulders?
So that's I'll segue into that, but
because I got two bad shoulders as well, for different reasons though.
You know what the beneficial part is? I don't think humans were meant to survive as long as we were. You're probably you have a nice shiny beard, and I'm jealous of, but most people, human beings, were not meant to survive to 90 years old based on how we were in Egypt and all that stuff. Modern medicine helps tremendously and all that stuff.
Yeah, I hurt both my shoulders separately in high school.
Yeah, what'd you do?
The right one. I told the story on the show before, but bear with me if you've already heard it. I used to work. Do you know on Route 28 where the little the Gold's Gym is there? Yeah. There's the bagel shop.
That's why I did a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the first job I ever had working at the bagel shop. And there was one day there was some new kid that was working there, and I was trying to show him how the garbage compactor worked out back. So it was overstuffed, and I'm I climb up on it. I'm trying to stomp down to shut the thing, and I slipped, and when I fell, my arm hit the top of the compactor and just went like that. So I knew it hurt. I knew it hurt for a long time, but I also didn't go to the doctor. So I really don't know what happened to it, but it clicks now. It's kind of weird. I have to be careful doing overhead stuff. But then the left shoulder, remember, what school did you go to?
Bridgewater.
You went to Bridgewater? Did they still have freshman fun night when you went there?
Probably, yeah.
That was the thing where all the freshmen come in, it was in the first couple weeks of school, and the seniors are like they basically have all these different teams. Each team is a different color, and there's a group of seniors that are the captains of each color team, and they have a bunch of freshmen. Everybody plays games and stuff. You wear face paint, wear crazy
I
costumes.
remember like a
and stuff.
handball tournament or something like that.
It was way more than that. You know,
Okay.
it's all like different like team games. It's like silly and fun. It's supposed to, you get to meet older people
Right.
and they're supposed to be nice to you. And I was one of the captains of the red team when I was a senior. So we had to do it out on the football field because they were still working on the gym at the time.
Right.
And I guess it was like dewy, so the grass is kind of wet. So they were doing the game where everybody stands in a big circle and they have to pass the hula hoop from like one person to the other, like get through it without letting go of hands. So we were the team captains. We're trying to like cheer everybody on. I'm wearing like a fucking red Tai Chi suit and like a red beanie and red boxing gloves. And then my buddy was like, "Oh, do something to hype everybody up." So I was like, "All right." So I'm a break dancer at the time. I would go in the middle of the circle and I go to do a Nike, which is like a one-handed. I went on one hand and the grass was wet and I'm wearing boxing gloves and my hand slipped and I dislocated my shoulder and it's never been right since. So I have 2 bad shoulders. Can't do overhead presses. Can't do overhead squats like I did CrossFit. Like, oh, you got to do an overhead squat. I was like, listen.
It don't work like that.
Forget it. Take that shit right out off the fucking workout because I ain't doing it. I can't do it. It'll if I go.
My lat mobility I can't do that. If I get to a certain point, my arms are going over here. It's that simple.
Oh, if I go like past here and there's any kind of weight applied, it's coming right out of the socket.
Dude, stop. Just keep everything tight. I always keep things tight. Jiu-jitsu, everything. I have dislocated this one twice. One from a stupid one from jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so hypersensitive about dude, I need to protect this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't know how dislocated yours was. Was it like fully dislocated or
fully
out?
Fully out.
Me too. That's some scary shit, bro. I'm gonna lie.
I had to run to the one of the teachers, Mr. Foley. I don't know if you still taught that.
Yeah.
He was one of the kind of like the supervisors, whatever you would call it. So after it popped out, I fell. I got up and it was just kind of swinging. I was like, well, this is bad. So I kind of ran out of the circle and ran over. My arm is like hanging.
Dude.
Hey, Mr. Foley, I think I dislocated my arm. And he goes, yeah, you think? So they had to call an ambulance and take me to the hospital. That was not one of my prouder moments. But
setting a shoulder is actually a lot more. It's Hollywood makes it seem like you can just go to a wall and just slide it.
Yeah, it doesn't work because I had an inferior dislocation, so it popped like the bone.
Forward and
came
down
underneath, so I couldn't lower my arm, and they had to.
Oh, okay, that way, got it.
They had to have one doctor pull my wrist, and the other doctor try to pop it back in. Ooh, it didn't feel good.
Dude, it doesn't feel good at all. It's a scary thing, and it's only a select amount of people that can do it.
Yeah.
The right way.
And imagine being wheeled into the hospital on a gurney with red face paint and a red Tai Chi suit on, looking like a complete jackass. Again, not my proudest moment.
It's okay. We never have those. The shoulder thing, bro. It's such a mess. And I mean, the benefit is that, we have this extreme range of motion. Like, I can bring this thing overhead, behind my back, up. I mean, the hip is a ball and socket joint, too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that same level. The benefit is that we don't have the same level range of motion, but it's more stable. Hips dislocate, just not nearly as often as shoulders do.
And plus I think the average person isn't doing motions that would, put the hip in risk of being dislocated either. I think with your shoulders, you're much more likely to move your arms and do
yeah, dude, you fall. Well, you're not going to just step your foot forward. That's why you're falling. Okay, I got to place my arm out of here. Oh, the grass slipped. It goes this way. Oh, I'm getting swept. I place my arm, but the guy brings me over. It's not as strong as my inferior shoulder muscles. Oh, well, too bad. Guess whatever's the weakest link is going to break.
Yep.
It's a scary one, bro. I ain't going to lie.
Sorry, I took you off on a tangent here.
It's good. I do remember. But, I trained a lot in high school and eventually got to the point in college where I was so obsessed with trying to figure out what was wrong with my shoulders. I even got a surgery that was completely unneeded. I was so obsessed, and I could have sworn I knew. It was like, had to be something, has to do with the cartilage or some type of... So they went under operating table to clean some stuff up. Didn't really do anything. I wasted time. I wasted money. Wasted physical therapy time as well. But during that time, I learned a lot about the human body. And my idea was that I want to learn so much about the human body that I never have these issues ever again.
Okay.
Right? So it's not for the sake of helping other people, because I didn't know that's what I wanted to do. It was for my own sake. That, hey, I don't want the situation ever again. Because I was a lot more selfish in that sense at the time. Because that's what mattered at the end of the day. And I found out when I was training at the gym, I was training legs with some of my friends, like, dude, you know a lot about the body. Are you a personal trainer back home and where you live in Somerset County? It's like, no, don't you have to be a college graduate to do that? It's like, no, my friend is. He's 17. I'm like, how? It's like, oh, you need a certification. I'm like, what's involved in that? So that took me down the spot with NASM. I put more time studying in that stuff than I did anything my academic career combined up to that point.
I had bought the book to study for the test. I was going to do it around 2014, and I just, didn't.
It's cool. I can I have like the PDF. I'll send it to anybody. I don't care if Nazim's losing money on that. Don't send that part out to them. They might sue me a little bit. But
let's use
I
a fake
paid for
name
it. I
from now
paid
on.
for it actually. So you know what? I don't really care. Put it out to them. But yeah, I studied that like crazy. I went through the test. I crushed it, and I was very obsessed. I was like, oh, this is super actually interesting. The first time academically, I was actually like intrigued in what I was doing. Definitely more in finance. Finance is just so bored out of my mind. So this was 2017. I was done my freshman year of high school, college rather, not that young. And then I go over to a place called Newell Strength in Hillsborough, New Jersey, under Kyle Newell, the man. Much respect to the guy. And I was looking around for little internships where I can just say, hey, part-time, short-term. I just want some experience under my belt before I go back to school. He gave me a unique offer, which was, I'm not going to pay you anything, but I guarantee you'll learn here more than you ever will anywhere else in this period of time. And I said, okay, you know what? Money doesn't matter. I want to learn more about this because I'm passionate about the human body. Let's see some real world application of it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned more in those 8 weeks than I did, thus far going forward with anything academically.
It's just funny. 8 weeks doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're really like
Engaged.
engaged in intensive like learning and training,
It's a
8
whole
weeks
different
is a long
story.
time actually.
Well, dude, people learn differently, and I don't understand why.
That's true.
And listen, I don't know how much time you got, but we can rant about the traditional educational, academic. I've had a lot of people shit on me for my thoughts on it, and I don't know why. It's people like, oh, your opinion's wrong about academia and stuff. And I'm like, thank you for telling me my opinion. I don't know. Personally, I believe that people learn differently. Like, I know you're someone who is, a lot more hands-on, construction and all that other stuff. You're like the real man, real beard type of deal, which doesn't grow for me. Whatever. I'm 22. Give me a break. But
If you only knew while I'm doing all that man work on the construction site, I'm listening to like fucking Madonna and the Spice Girls
dude,
and
that's the
shit.
best stuff, though. I don't know why. I don't know why that's not manly or anything.
You know what's funny? I actually made. I don't know if I talked about this, but I made a playlist of all songs that are like the songs that you would only listen to when no one's around. That you might be a little like, you wouldn't be too fond of having to explain to people if they heard you listening to them.
You don't need to explain
But you
anything
still
to
like
anybody.
them.
Who cares?
No, I'm listen. 100%. You don't need to explain anything, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know
those
what you
songs.
mean.
You know what I
I
mean.
get what you're saying, but I mean, as time goes on, I'm starting to realize that I don't care nearly as much as what other people think because that's justifiable. That's time like I'm spending justifying. I could be spending helping other people and doing a whole bunch of other, even charity. So at the end of the day, it's people could think whatever they want about me or whatever they choose. It doesn't serve me to try to correct that because it's an impossible mission.
Well, you just before you were mentioning, your thoughts on like the educational system.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like that's such a common conversation now about how the way we educate kids today in like our school systems. My hat's off to teachers. It's a hard job, but at the same
It's
time,
underpaid, underrated.
At the same
and
time,
it's needed. It's necessary. It's required.
not everybody fits in that round hole. Not everybody's the round
I
peg.
agree.
And it's kind of a one size fits all approach.
It is.
Clearly, it doesn't work for everybody, and people fall through the cracks.
I'm very fond that they have internships and stuff, but I think that should start at the high school level, even before then. Get more of an idea. What I did in high school, I went all over with different electives and stuff, not just because I needed to, because I wanted to see, does anything pique my interest? Because graduating high school, I know what the fuck I wanted to do. I can be vulgar, I guess, a little bit on here. It doesn't really matter.
No, please don't curse.
Okay, I'll keep it a Christian channel. I'm sorry about that. I'll keep it to a minimum. But
no, let
I know,
him
that's all.
fly.
At the end of the day, it's just, like you said, it's a round hole, square peg kind of situation. And there's a lot of people who just don't fit that bucket. I mean, for me, I did a little bit for certain people, but it was just too much of a coin flip. I didn't want to risk that time and like, oh, it's a good class, but you need this professor. I'm like, why? Why does that matter? Shouldn't the subject itself be a precedent for that? But at the end of the day, I wish like the real world experience, people really have more hands-on time with that type of stuff. Once they can figure out what they actually want to do instead of saying, oh, I'm going to go and spend my time in college. And then, oh, wait, I still don't know what I want to do. I want to go find myself. No, go spend time. Do things. Because most people, quite frankly, I know we live in New Jersey and taxes are great. That's just sarcasm over here. Not everyone can afford to go to college. I was fortunate enough that I could. But you know what? I know people who are $200K plus in debt from higher education levels. And they're still paying it off 20 years later.
Yeah, well, that's the national conversation right now.
This is insane.
But I'm thinking more like high school because and this is something I've noticed. I feel like more often than not, it's By the way, you got to coast it. You don't have to put it on the seat.
I know I didn't want to block my beautiful eczema-ridden face right now. But
You're not that short, bro. Like, we could see your face over the bottom.
you know why I like you? Because we're about the same height. And I don't
We
feel
are.
So
I'm
bad.
not a tall man.
Near am I.
So, no, what I was saying, like high school, it's something about just being in that setting of like a classroom in school. There's a lot of this affects boys. I feel like more so because I don't remember there being like girls that were slackers. Like girls were always so much better about grades and stuff like that, and at least doing
It could be
the
our
bare minimum.
self-bias, to be fair.
It could be, and I'm talking out of my ass here.
Right.
But in my memory, I always remember girls being way better with school, and that's a credit to them. Boys for whatever reason have a harder time focusing. It seems like, and it's just something about being in that classroom, being in the desk. Like you could be interested in the subject, but for me, like my brain would just shut off. It would just
That was my problem
I
too, bro.
couldn't make myself care while I was there.
That's what I'm saying.
Couldn't do it.
And it's like, hey, you have to be here and pay attention during this time. You know what I feel like school is a very good example of, and I feel like the higher in education you go, of course, this is just my thought on it. Not everyone has to agree with me. It's just, hey, we're working on a few things here. We're working on, being able to pay attention to details, find deadlines, multitask, and handle your own stresses.
Mm-hmm.
The variable is your major or the class. Everything else is pretty much a standard course. The higher in education you go, the more of these tasks, the intensity of those scale up, like difficulty levels in a video game.
I feel like the more you're really learning, especially like when you're in the college level, like
I know people who come out of there, they don't know shit. I
Yeah,
graduated summa cum laude like a couple weeks ago. I don't know anything I learned in there.
some people are just good at playing the game. Some people just
It's
know how
really
to
about
get through
play-
school.
The school education system, it's pay to play for that too. You go to a higher education system, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to learn more. It just has more status symbol behind
Yeah.
it. The Gucci sunglasses block any more UV rays in my Oakleys or whatever. I don't know. It's maybe not. Are the Louis Vuitton loafers any more comfortable than the ones I get at Men's Warehouse? I don't know.
Probably less comfortable.
Probably less comfortable.
High
Definitely
fashion,
cooler
baby.
though.
High
Definitely
fashion.
cooler. But
Anyway, all right. So clearly, the whole, the regular average guy approach of go to school, go to college, get a job, blah 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 blah.
I think that
Something's wrong with that. But what now? What?
yeah.
Obviously, you're into fitness.
Yeah.
You're into learning about physiology, the human body, and stuff. So, what made you? How did you discover that you wanted to teach people? You wanted to be a coach. That's not for everybody because some people,
No, of
some people
course.
just aren't people person. People,
I agree.
you're not a people. They're not people.
I got it.
That's a weird.
People are not always the easiest to work with. I like, you know what? And I don't like working with everyone. I like working with people I like. That's a pretty fair statement. I don't, and quite frankly, I don't work with everyone. I've turned people away who don't
people
match
suck.
my vibes. I learned a lot that my mental health matters a lot more than any amount of money you can pay me at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And there is a price limit on that. I'm sure if someone wants to pay me $10,000 for an hour, it might be worth it to cover any mental damages I exceed.
Mental health will be okay for a little while.
A little bit. It'll be all right. We take sacrifices here. I'll go to Francis Ngannou in the cage for $10 million and just cover up. But I will say that over time, just going through the internship I had with Kyle, and then within, he said, if I do well, I'll get a job. Then within 3 weeks, he's like, hey, listen, you're coming back in fall. You already got it. Don't worry. Let's keep you rocking. Give me more responsibilities. Because I proved my excellence in there, and I proved that I was genuinely like, hey, I want to learn. And because I knew I was interested in academically,
Mhm.
I thought I knew a lot until I got in there and I was like, wow, I just don't know everything. So I really just, kept my cup empty or whatever the expression is.
Yep.
And just rocked forward with it. And I tried to learn as much as I can and understand like, okay, why people move in certain ways. And that's really where I just had my time. And that was really just it wasn't like a quick switch, but it was a development process over time for me saying like, in the beginning, of course, I was like, oh, I can see how this person squats, so I know how to do mine better. But now I see like, oh, this is how I squat, and now I can show someone else how to do it in a better way. I learned I like explaining things. I learned I like teaching other people.
Mhm.
I learned that I like to help other people at the end of the day who are having problems. And I'm like, oh, wait, you're having a problem. I know the solution. I get satisfaction off of showing, oh, that's how you do it. And then they do it right. And then it's, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, oh, this is good. I like this feeling. Great. And I rocked on with that. And then that just continued to scale and scale and scale until I was about 3 years in the hole. Not 3 years in the hole, but 3 years.
In whose hole?
Yeah, that right, too.
Sweeney's hole? What's up, Mike?
3 years into personal training over there, and then that's when COVID situation happened. It goes to my business, but you were gonna say something. I don't want to.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So, what kind of clients do you typically get? And especially now, you're saying like right around the time the pandemic started was when you were really starting to get into it.
Yeah.
So, like, what kind of people you getting? Like older people? You getting middle aged, young people? You getting guys? You getting women? Like,
So the way that transpired was eventually what happened was obviously COVID happened. At that time, I was already doing jiu-jitsu. At that time, I was, I already transferred school. I skipped over the part, but I did 3 semesters at Rowan, stopped going because my mental health got to such a state where I just didn't know what I even wanted to do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I took a year off. It was going to turn into a semester. I dropped out of Rowan, stopped finance. Then next calendar year, 2018, I started Arizona State University online, healthy lifestyle coaching. At that point, I already realized that, hey, I'm at least interested in this health stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let me at least, if I'm going to do higher education, let me at least pursue that because who knows what I'm going to do at the end of the day. It wasn't until, and I just graduated that like a couple of weeks ago with the highest honors or whatever they call it. Thank you. It's great. I got some nice pictures from it. Salute. Drink some beautiful water.
Hey, I offered you booze, but
I said the water's king, my man. It's all
early
good.
in the morning.
It is a little early on a Sunday. Gotta go to church after this.
Hey,
king, I'm Jewish.
I'll wave to you when you're on your way. All right.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. At that point, it was basically, I already went through the system of training people. I was doing the small group, the in-person, the assessment. So I really had a tactical knowledge of how the human body worked, and I did enjoy working with people. And then when the COVID situation happened, now I can't go to jiu-jitsu. Like I said, I have an extreme personality. I go into something.
Mm-hmm.
So jiu-jitsu, 12 hours a week. Training, I was going that as much as possible. Education, doing that as much as I needed to at that level. Like something came out, I'm like, great, I'm done. What's the next assignment? When can I do it? So I can just have that off the table. I keep moving.
Now, when you say you have like an intense thing, is that like you always hear the term like an addictive personality thrown around?
It's more my anxiety keeps me from like, I don't want to wait to the last minute. Let me get this done now.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's funny because you'll get to a point where it's like, I don't want to face this challenge. So I'll put it off to the last minute and then I'll be inspired because, hey, you need to do it now, gun to your head.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what happens with a lot of people with obesity, unfortunately. It's like, it's not until you get that medical wake-up call that says, you need to lose weight because if you don't, you're going to die. And that's when people get scared. At that point, I can still help people. But unfortunately, we're fighting the clock and now we're also fighting the human body.
Makes your job a lot harder.
Makes my job harder, but it doesn't necessarily make it any worse. It's just still someone who's now inspired. Honestly, I'd rather work with someone who has that level of motivation. Because I know people who are, I can see in yourself, like someone who's like, hey, I am passionate, like I need to make something change, and you do it, right? So those people who
I wouldn't call myself that guy.
I'm up talking you. Maybe you're not. I don't know.
No, listen, I know I've been steady gaining weight since since I got married, and I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. And I go running once, and I'm like, all right, well, now I'm tired, and I used to be real in shape. And I like talking to people that are like fit and like,
dude, I would call you like a tank. You're still like built though.
Oh, I mean, it's it's mostly fat at this point, but I have wide shoulders for a guy my size.
Dislocate very easily, I heard.
Yeah, but I was super in shape. I was all about it. But I realized later on that for me, like when we talked about using negative emotions to channel your energy into a positive way,
right?
Like I was a guy was lonely. I didn't have a lot of long-term girlfriends. My whole idea was I wanted to make myself the most attractive, the most appealing, to find someone to settle down with and not have to fucking date anymore. I hated the dating scene. So I had nothing but free time, essentially. I would go to work, come home, and that was it. The rest of it was free time. So I would go to the gym. I would dedicate my time. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was something I could get all that negative energy out, and I could do it in a positive way. And eventually I started getting good at the shit, and then it was kind of like showing off a little bit. You go to the gym. It's like, oh, yeah, can you do muscle-ups? Like, no, well, come on. You can work out with me. I'll show you. I'll teach you how to do it. Like trying to sun people, basically.
Yeah.
And I realized after I got married, when I started to kind of, I'm like, all right, well, now I have a wife at home. Now I have, my son Tyler's at home. How much time do I want to spend away from them? I'm already at work all day.
I get it, bro.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My whole motivation, the way I was able to keep working out was because I wasn't happy. And that was how I distracted myself. When I finally got happy, and I'm like, you let it slide a little bit. You let things fall by the wayside. And next thing you know, I put on 10 pounds. Not the end of the world. You're still all right. 20 pounds. Yeah, it starts creeping up.
Exactly.
And then the pandemic hits. For a while, I was keeping it at bay. We were going to like Orange Theory, just something me and the wife could do together.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not just like my time away
Holding
from everybody.
accountable. We're moving. I got it.
Exactly. And that's always the struggle for people. How are they going to balance that time? And for me, that was a good compromise. Like we could do it together. It's not exactly what I want to do, but it's something. It's a good workout. And then it shut down for the pandemic. And then we're just like, well, all right, we're here. And then you're scared all day. I was the one who have to go out into the world, work, and I was an essential worker. You're filled with anxiety. You start comfort eating, and next thing you know, it starts going up and up and up. Then you grow a beard. Like next thing you know, you're looking at yourself. You're back at your fattest weight you ever were. I'm like, well, now you got to fucking start from square one, which is where I am. All right, how am I gonna find this? I have to do a whole new balance now. You know what I mean? I don't know how this became an indictment on myself, but
Doesn't matter, man.
this is it gets complicated for people that live regular lives. Like we're not the Joe Rogan type where you're a comedian and a podcaster and you have your entire day free. You can go work out 6 hours a day if you felt like it and do whatever you want. Not everybody has that kind of freedom with their time and their finances even.
Correct.
So it's a hard thing. Like I'm not trying to make excuses because where there's a will, there's a way. At the end of the day, like there's no illusions about that. But what's a realistic way for everybody is different. Everybody's different schedules. So what works for me may not work for the next guy.
I agree.
What works for you might not work for Joe Blow. So,
well, the same way that you had the talk about the circle and the square peg or whatever that was. It's the same way with your health. I believe that a lot of people. We can go down a rabbit hole of this. There's a lot of people.
What the hell? We can go wherever we want.
That's true, man. Now, I will say that a lot of people believe there is this, it's very simple. It's just you do X, Y, and Z, and that's it. Like, you just need to do keto or you just need to do that. I believe that people are individuals. You are different than your wife, and your wife is different from your child and different from me, and so on and so forth. Now, I don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all solution for health.
Agreed.
And that takes a lot of ownership because a lot of people like to believe they have the answers. And we can go talk about, egos and what people believe. And that can go into a different cycle of its own. And it's funny, before I dive down that hole, I was going to mention the thing about male ego and that you'll find that people, and you say who I want to work with at the end of the day, the people with the biggest egos are the difficult ones. That's why I find working with women tend to be much easier times for me.
Guys are a lot more
you can be pinned down like Saving Private or 20, whatever the movie was. The guy was pinned down. Like he had to cut his arm off to get out of the spot.
Oh, was it 100 and something hours?
Yeah, something
James
hours.
Franco?
Yeah, exactly. So like if I asked him like, hey, you need help? He'd be like, oh no, I'm good. I got this. And he's just sawing his arm off, right? A woman, not nearly as bad in a situation. Hey, listen, I'm having trouble with this, and can I help you? Like, I got you. Let me take care of you. I love you. Let me go ahead and let's get you sorted away. Dude, listen, you gotta put people up, man. I love people, bro. Dude, I don't know why people are so afraid of that word.
No. I mean, this is a client. You know what I mean?
I mean, listen, love. I mean, I'm not talking romantic. I love you as a human being, as a person.
Because I was gonna ask you.
I love you too, bro. But I don't love you romantically.
Well, I was gonna ask you later on, like. You always hear about this. This guy's wife. She's got some personal trainer she's with. Every other day.
It's the ego thing. It's the ego thing. No one has trust anymore.
Yeah, it's.
I get it though.
Some fit guy is bending your wife into pretzels. You know what I mean? You're gonna ask some questions.
Of course.
Anyway, sorry.
I like to have that open communication, respect, and trust are the forefront of any type of relationship. And I'm sure there's someone out there, and I'm working with their wife, and they may say like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. First of all, most of the time it's online anyway. Even when I was in person, I'm sure someone was like, hey, what is this guy doing over here with my woman? And, I take care and I respect people, and I keep the communication forefront and open. When you do that, there's nothing to hide. I got nothing to hide. That's why I'm open. I didn't want to look at your list of what you sent me. I'm like, I want to be organic. I don't want to forethought. I'm like, I don't have any espionage against me or whatever kind of like interrogation or CIA is going against me. I'm good. I'm a clean dude. I pay my taxes. It's all good at the end of the day. I will say that at the end of the day, the people who are willing to accept, like, hey, I'm going to take ownership of my problems, I'm willing to step forward, those are the ones that are a lot more accepting of becoming coachable at the end of the day. People, because I can recommend something to someone and say, oh, it doesn't work for me, I've tried it. Oh, well, I get it. It's the same way, like, if you break up with a woman and you say, oh, I can't date women anymore. No, you just couldn't date that woman. What about a different one? Even if you get fucked over by 5 business coaches in a row, doesn't necessarily mean you don't need a business coach. I got a business coach. That helped me tremendously scale.
It might just mean you have bad judgment in business coaches.
Could be, or you could have got a shit roll of the dice. At the end of the day, you got to realize it's not a bad method. You might get 5 bad second opinions in a row, and the last one was the one that was correct. It could be that one piece of advice you needed to set your life in motion, one operation to change your shoulder from popping out of its socket. You never know. But the ego thing is a hard one to conjure.
Yeah,
that's more on the personal level, and I've learned over time that I'm not so. The problem is I want to help everyone now that I know I can help people. Like I said, extreme personality. So I'm like, okay, great. I can do this. I can help you. I guarantee I can help anybody is the thing. I can help 99% of the population who can operate basic technology and can have clear lines of communication over, a cell phone. anywhere in the world and who has access to very basic equipment, even at that. With clear communication, it's all possible. The problem becomes when people start doubting and that starts to break down at a level like, oh, I didn't do this or I didn't want to tell you about this. And then that's when things start to break down because it becomes a reflection on the coach who has a bad job. Like if you have a sports car and you have a McLaren, like $1 million McLaren, like whatever, you crash that motherfucker into a brick wall. Does the car suck or did the driver fail? Because I'm just providing you a vehicle in order to. I'm setting up the roads. I'm setting up the bumpers. Here's the course. Here's the car. But I need you to take action, Steve. You can pay me any amount of money you want, and I can get you everything in place. If you don't take action, nothing's gonna happen. If I could do it the other way, I would charge people a lot more. I will say. So when technology gets to that point, I will figure that one out. Makes my life easy. But it's all about other people taking action too. There's two people in this. It's the support. It's like if you're on the ground. I always do analogies. I'll stop now, but. You're on the ground. I'm trying to pull you up. You're slack dead. I'm not going to get you on your feet. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, you're a trainer. You can't do the workout.
I can't do the work for you. I can set you up the circumstances to do
broccoli.
It. Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless technically you could, and then just hey, let me get the food funnel or whatever.
Yeah, nah, you got issues of consent and all that stuff.
Yeah, legal doesn't really like when I do that for people. I've tried a few times.
If you figure out a way, maybe you can make my son eat some fucking broccoli. Anyway,
give it time for him.
One of these days. But So what's your approach now? You said you were doing it online through technology.
Absolutely.
How does this work?
So what happened was when the pandemic occurred, I basically said to myself, okay, I want to keep my skills sharp. I'm 1% better every day. I still have that mentality. And of course, this has been the most impactful year of my life, this pandemic situation. And not in a negative way, a complete majority in a positive way. I did have some hardships. I did have extreme losses and extreme challenges, but overall, I would do it again just to get to this point all over again. Now, when this thing happened, I basically just wanted to write people programs like, hey, Steve, what's going on, my man? I want to keep my skills sharp. Pay me like $60. I'm going to write you a quick workout, some nutrition. I just want to keep my skills sharp. Something I can do in the meantime because I can't work people hands-on. The gym's closed, whatever. At some point, I just started really kind of building that out. And I was like, oh, when I deliver the plan, how do I want to present it? So I started making spreadsheets. I started making documentations in it. Oh, I don't know how to do this. So I started solving little problems I saw with a handful of people I worked with, right? So I worked with like a handful of people. And eventually I reached out to my buddy who I knew from jiu-jitsu. And he says, shout out to Chase. And he says that, what you're doing is good. Is this what you're trying to do? I'm like, I don't know. Just kind of, I'm sure when the gym opens, I'll just jump back in there, in May when everything opens up. Hindsight 2020 it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Literally hindsight 2020. But I got to a point and he basically said, hey, listen, I paid a lot of money to this business coach and I'm going to go ahead and, if, this helped me go from X amount of money a month to that amount. And I was like, wait. So I had the existential moment of realizing like how much I could realistically do. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have all the advantages everyone has today of like everyone is a business coach and everyone's a online personal trainer. I didn't even know that existed when I talked to Mark Washko. Mark Washko has quite frankly changed my life. He's a guy I just visited out in Florida for the first time, actually last week. So I've been, in a business relationship with him and friendship with him for the past year. Never met him until like a week ago. Coolest dude ever. Lots of guns in Florida too. He's got plenty.
Yeah, that's Florida for you.
That is Florida for you for sure. But he showed me how to systemize things. He showed me how to, do the business part because it doesn't matter if you know how to operate, the coaching aspect of it. If you don't have business coming in and you know how to manage a business, well, you're just going to fail outright.
Well, yeah, that's a real hard part right now because especially with social media, you're competing with everybody.
Exactly.
Which I hate to look at it that way because there's plenty of pie out there for all of us. But at the same time, you're competing for people's limited attention spans.
Exactly.
Especially if social media is the way we're trying to basically advertise for whatever our platforms are, whether it's personal training, whether it's a podcast.
Yeah.
People only have so much attention spans.
You would think someone at 21 at the time would really know their stuff. I really didn't. I wasn't this big. You go look back and look at my social media from 2020 and on before that. It was very sporadic, like ish. Like I didn't care. Everyone was negative. Everyone was political and arguing. I didn't want nothing to do with that.
So just like today.
Just like today. But here's the thing. I learned one of the little tricks I learned and may be helpful for you too. If you find yourself just consistently on social media falling down that rabbit hole, create, don't consume. I create content. I consume from people I trust. If I see someone who puts out something that's negatively impacting me, like someone who's just like complaining and ranting and putting off that, using it as events, which, listen, you can do what you want with your social media at the end of the day. I personally believe that, I use it to spread positivity, love, and care and knowledge for people, and I want to help people. I use it as an outlet to bring people into me so that I can help them personally at that level, right? So
I mean, at the end of the day, that's essentially what
I use it with responsibility.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. I'll be honest. In the last month, ever since my newest son was born, really not been on much. Everything's kind of fallen by the wayside.
Good for you, bro.
But I love it. I'll be honest. I wish I didn't have to depend on social media to promote something. It's tough, because there's a lot of negativity, and I think what I see more often than just straight up negativity is just bad ideas. And I'm someone who believes that the best way to fight bad ideas is with better ideas.
Of course.
But at the same time, I don't want to spend my days arguing with people on Instagram and Twitter.
Is it really beneficial for you to impact the world one single person and just trying to convince how they change their mind?
Of course, and you're not going to change people's mind. But for instance, with this platform, it's all about, being a man today, trying to be the best man you can be, be the best for the people around you, for your sons, daughters, wives, husbands, whatever it is. And there's a lot in that, like that whole modern masculinity area. There's a lot of guys who kind of take it in a negative direction.
Speaking of which, why don't you have a Fight Club poster around here or something?
Because that's such a stereotypical exactly the kind of
Dude, I was gonna make a comparison to that movie. I'm like, why don't men feel comfortable crying anymore? Like that person, Robert, whatever his face is.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Robert Paulson, yeah. Right? And he's he got his testicles chopped or whatever the deal was in the very beginning, and he's crying. I'm like, that's okay. Men can cry. Men can feel emotions.
Well, here's the thing. There's guys that they refer to themselves as red pilled. Think of like the Matrix.
Yeah,
red pill, blue pill. They're awake and they see what's really going on. They see.
Why do you put a title on it? I don't get it. Why do people need to put a title on it?
Because people have to put a title on everything. But those guys are out there thinking that they know the right way to what it really means to be a man. And all I'm trying to say is there is no right or wrong way. Just be a good person. And then if you're, if you call yourself a man and you're a good person, guess what? You're a good man now. It's as simple as that. Whether you're more sensitive, whether you're more consider yourself a tough guy, just don't be an asshole. Be kind to people. Be polite.
Don't harm
be helpful.
people.
Exactly.
And that's basically
no harm. I'm not saying you have to be, some little nebbishy, friggin', wormy little dweeb guy.
Don't go out of your way to antagonize and don't harm people. And basically do whatever the hell you want other than that, as far as I'm concerned. If you want to spend your time drawing beautiful pieces of art like this, and that's what you feel passionate about, go for it. If you want to do
I painted that myself?
I don't think you did. I don't think you're lying to me. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would be impressed.
He is Vigo, Prince of Moldavia, the Scourge of Carpathia.
He's got a nose like Ariel Hawani.
He was a very powerful magician.
Hilarious.
Did you ever see Ghostbusters 2?
No.
Oh, that's what this is from.
Yeah.
In the movie, this guy was actually some evil wizard kind of thing, and he painted himself, and his spirit was still in the painting, and it ends up in modern day New York and possesses the museum curator.
So Night at the Museum, but before that.
But evil.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. You never seen Ghostbusters 2?
No, I didn't watch the originals.
I forget. You're a little younger than me.
I do. Listen, you'd be surprised at what I do know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know everything. I try not to have my brain full of trivial information. I used to know sports very well, and then
I don't know anything about sports.
Dude, I want to have to says sports on it. It just says sports, and that's it.
I know nothing.
I know UFC, and that's basically it. And
I like boxing, but I don't pay attention. Like if I miss a fight, I don't care.
It is what it is.
I enjoy it while I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this guy's good, But at the same time,
because you do something doesn't mean you need to go 1,000 miles an hour at it, especially if it's not going to be beneficial to your. Sorry, I got tangled in some webs over here. You're trying to abduct me or something.
Sorry, there's little spiders out here.
It's all good.
Yeah, but I'm not just when it comes to sports, I'm not that guy. I used to train in boxing, so I enjoyed it. I liked watching the fights. I'm like, all right, I'm watching how these guys move. I'm watching how they set up combinations.
It's art.
Exactly. But at the same time, once it's off, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm on.
I don't have that
thing.
same level of intrigue in baseball where it's like, yeah, you can hit the ball in different ways, and there's limitations to that. But mixed martial arts, when it's like you can feint and set up and make it's the mental and physical balance, and then under certain rule sets and under certain constraints and different scenarios with extreme consequences, it's like, oh wow, this is exhilarating. This is extremely thrilling, and you don't know what's going to happen. There's so many variables, and that's why I think MMA is just a beautiful sport. And unfortunately, there are extreme consequences that can happen. Jacare Souza got his arm snapped last night. Chris Weidman blew his freaking leg out the other week. The same way, ironically, to Anderson Silva, he did it too. So, I mean, there are extreme consequences to it. So unfortunately, but I don't know, bro. If people are gonna do it, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah,
to
there's
be
nothing
fair,
wrong with it.
yeah, that's how I feel about jujitsu too.
Mhm.
Except that I don't have to worry about someone bashing my face in with an elbow.
Did you study any other martial arts?
Naturally, no, I didn't.
Wow.
I mean, I don't count like the year I did a karate when I was 5. Everyone does it. It's kind of like a prerequisite for childhood. Going back, I feel like we're going so all over the place.
It's okay.
How I work with people, and again, Mark Washko showed me how to systemize my business and all
Mhm.
that other stuff. I look at people in a sense, and I mean, I can talk about business the same way I can talk about coaching now. And honestly, I become more interested in the business side of things than I have
Mhm.
in the, the coaching side of things and personal training. Because I feel like while I don't know everything, my knowledge in business is a lot more new. So it's a lot more like, hey, I want to bring it back up to that level. Because I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I need to become a better personal trainer. I'm like, well, you could if you want to keep serving people, which you should. But what's more important, being able to serve the people you do at a higher level or being able to quantitatively serve more people? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's all perspective based on this, because if I just work with 5 people and I just become the Joe DeFranco or whatever of like extreme high levels
Throwing
of
a lot of names. People.
He's a Jersey guy. He's a
Joe
Jersey guy.
DeFranco?
Yeah, he's Mickey Gall's trainer, strength conditioning up in
Okay.
northern part of Jersey.
Shout out to Joe DeFranco.
Joe DeFranco's the man. He doesn't know me, but I know him. It's all
Okay.
good. I indirectly know him.
I'm sure he's watching.
I'm sure he's watching.
Positive.
Too. I'll send it over to him after this.
Yeah.
I'm friends with him on Instagram. But at the end of the day, it's like, would you rather serve 5 people extremely well to the absolute highest capacity of what you could potentially do as a human being, or would you rather serve 500 people to a moderate capacity and you're still making an impact? That's a matter of your own perspective. There's no right or wrong answer.
So, let's get a little deeper in.
Yeah.
What exactly do you do? Like, how do you do it? Do you tell people, all right, I want you to do this exercise on this day, this many sets for this many reps? Like,
I gave you the political answers because I'm jumping around the place because I feel like there's so much else I want to cover, and I'm excited. And I know I'm worried about people's time.
Fucking psych.
Yeah, I'm worried about people's I need to keep people's attention. But anyone watching at this point is probably already.
I've been drinking green tea all goddamn day.
That's right, son. I do have one of these at home already.
Take another one.
I'll take another one.
Show the camera.
Pot amongst men.
Guys, a pot amongst men. I still got fucking stickers.
Get the stickers. These are great.
I'll send them to you. Sam's already got one, and I bought one of his shirts.
My man. Should have worn it.
I know.
We would look a little too cute for the camera, I think.
I thought it would be a little bit on the nose. Because I had a feeling you were going to wear yours.
I wasn't sure if I was going to because I was like, you know what? But I might as well show people what's up with this thing. High quality t-shirts. This one, they fucked this one up. They don't have the back print on this. Let me not give you the political answer. Let me cut because I'm a real person, right? So when I work with somebody,
Are we sure? Are you sure now?
I'm very real.
Okay.
Don't worry. So your question for me was, how do I work with a specific individual?
You don't have to give me an exact workout, but like,
no, I got it. So when I work with people, the way it works, I can tell you about how I used to do it, how I've improved the system and all that. But how it works nowadays, first of all, I need to make sure that we're a right match for each other. So I go on a consultation call. Let's say you reach out, hey, I want to, I'm interested in what you do. Let's learn more. I want to learn more about. Cool. Hop on a quick 30-minute call. I want to learn more about you, your goals, your specific needs, and all that stuff. And ultimately, at that time, I'm going to be able to get a feel if I'm going to want to work with you too. Because quite frankly, that's the part that I've learned over time is while you can help everybody, you shouldn't help every single person at the end of the day. Your mental health matters.
Okay.
Right? So for someone who I may have to spend 5 times the amount of time with to get to the same point where I can help one standard person, it may not be simply worth the time, the money, or the mental strain if they're causing one. So that's when I get a kind of feeling for a person. Most people, the fact of the matter is, most people I connect with are great people. 99%. There is a very small % of people I have turned away. So when I say that, it's not like I'm picky choosy, like, oh, this guy doesn't have hair. I'm not gonna.
So like,
fuck with this guy.
what would cause you to turn someone away?
Someone who is kind of like what we talked about. Someone who is into like really negative stuff. Someone with a very large ego and is not susceptible to coaching. Or to opinionative, because some people are like, oh, I know what I need to do. I just need you to write that down for me. And like, I'm not a servant. I work with people. I don't work for people. There's a reason I don't have a boss anymore. I'm very much in control of how my money comes in, how I can scale that, how I run my own business. I'm talking to some other people who want to bring in a whole bunch of clients and stuff. I don't know what their expectations are, but I quite frankly told them, I'm going to run the business how I see fit. And if you don't trust my opinion on that, then we're just not going to do business. Because I won't be in control of what I have at the end of the day. Because that's how I can ensure quality.
And how do they react to that?
They thought it was fine. But we'll see how that goes. We'll talk more. We can announce more about that later. Can't really talk too many details. But
okay. Gotta Gotta keep it a little political.
I got to keep it a little bit on the low. Okay, I don't know how much I'm really allowed to talk about with that.
Well, I mean, like, is it just? I mean, I'm not asking you to throw
No,
out names
no.
or anything.
So there's a handful of people I make. The fact of the matter is, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. I've shaked a few hands, and this guy, they connected with me. He's like, hey, you're a really good person. He's talking to his company right now to see if possibly I'm a right fit for some preventative health solutions and working with the coach. I don't know what they have in mind for me, but if employment is what they're looking for, that's not. I'm not going to be a yes. I'm not going to be a yes man. I'm going to question things. I want to know why. I'm very cooperative to work with, but if we're talking about my business, when I put my name on and when I put my logo on, it's got to be something I am proud of at the end of the day.
All right. So let's get into let's keep going.
So when I decide, hey, okay, we're going to work together, great. From that point on, I'm going to send you out, a little waiver. You drop a dumbbell on your foot, you're not going to come after my Acura covered in pollen outside in Jersey, and all that other fun stuff. I send them over a couple quick assessments for movement and stuff, which that's kind of how I systemize it.
What does that consist of?
So I actually made a couple of videos. So the big question for me when I was starting this out was, how do I bring that same level of attention to detail as I do in person to an online setting? Because the pandemic was a real factor. And I said to myself, if I can make this work during the pandemic, I can make it work even when it's over. I worked with a few people in person during a pandemic, but that was just a extension of the online business. So what I did was, there is something out there for people who are familiar with training is called the FMS system. It's a movement screening system for athletes. And there's a lot of specific details with it. And I don't want to go into it because, quite frankly, I have kind of forgotten every single detail. I took what I thought was important and justifiable for the majority of the population and simple, most of all. I expanded and changed a few details, and I applied it to my own system. So what I do, I ask a few basic health screening questions like, hey, do you have high cholesterol? Hey, do you have any surgeries or past injuries that's going to affect how you do exercise? Do you have any allergies? Do you have any medical conditions? Like, you get dizzy? Are you pregnant? Kind of.
Do the thing. Do you make them go through certain movements? You watch how they move.
So that's what I implemented. That I made my own little system off it. I tried. The thing is, I got to keep it simple because in my mind, I don't need. The thing is, I don't need you to know everything I know. I'm more than happy to share all the information. I need you to know just enough so that you're doing what you're doing, and eventually you'll become very good at knowing what you need to do for yourself, right? I don't need to teach you every bit about human anatomy I know to give you a workout plan. I don't need to teach you everything about metabolic science in order to tell you what kind of foods you should be eating. But what I do need to know is more specific information about you because, like I said, it is not a cookie-cutter solution.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I look at somebody's squat, what I did was I made it a rate out of 3. If someone can't squat with any good form whatsoever, and I show them how to do it properly, and I made a level 1, 2, and 3 system, right? So keep it simple, right? Drop down menu. You watch the video of me doing it. I explain on screen with text on screen as well. If you're a level 1, your squat sucks, I'm going to put a level 1 there. Now I know I'm not going to go to the gym and I'm not going to have you do a heavy barbell squat as your first exercise because you can't even squat. If you're level 2, like you could kind of do it. Maybe you're a little overweight, but you're not ready for weight yet. Okay, I know how to go about that. Then I'll look at split squats, for example. And I'll say, okay, split squat, which is a stationary lunge. And maybe you have good balance in your left leg and not so much in your right leg. So maybe I know, okay, we need to work on the right leg more than we need to do on progressing the left leg. Because at the end of the day, we would ultimately like everything to be in balance. You don't want everything super tight in the front and everything loose in the back, which it is how it is when we're sitting in these podcast chairs. The glutes get loose. We hunch over. The funny thing is everyone works at the desk all day and they want to hit bench press, but why would we tighten an area that's already tight? It's tight and weak. We should be working. A lot more people need to be working on horizontal rows is what's really helpful. That's going to help the posture. It's going to help the spine and a whole bunch of other stuff. I can go into details with that. Deadlifts are great too, of course, and posterior chin exercises. So I go through a system of that, and there's a few others in there. I didn't go. I wanted to make sure it was simple enough but effective enough. And
as you're talking about posture, I had to adjust myself.
Me too.
Subconsciously.
It's whenever I talk about water with people on the calls, and I'm just like, just keep a tally mark of how many times I sip water after this point because I subconsciously told myself.
Oh, I'm done already. You know what it is? I was dehydrated too.
Are you, or are you exaggerating?
No, I really was because I was up with the baby all night. My wife takes care of him during the week while I'm at work. So on the weekends, I'll at least take him so she can get a full night's sleep. And I had a bottle next to my bed, and I looked at it this morning, and it was still unopened. I was like, yeah.
Well, good thing is human beings can go a lot longer. Everyone thinks they're hungry all the time, bro. And there's a difference between appetite and hunger. There's a huge difference.
Well, I mean,
is your body telling your brain or your brain telling your body? Are you hungry or do you have an appetite? Appetite's very specific.
I would say you're hungry when you feel the hunger pains.
Well, yeah, that's also a hormonal response because your stomach is empty. It doesn't mean you are starving. You're going to die. There's different classifications.
Yeah, that would be an extreme exaggeration, I would think.
Course.
But once you feel like the
Well,
pain in
also,
your
you
stomach.
could be dropping energy because you just had a bunch of carbs and your body just digested. Now you have all this, glucose and all that other great stuff, and your blood sugar's high, and your insulin's high, and now it's like, oh, I need more of that. Do you, or you're not hungry? I think you're confusing the signals in your head. Being more mindful about your body is a huge thing about I talk to people about. Let me get back to how I work people. I go through the assessment. I get their answers.
You were on something. You can finish. Go ahead.
What was I talking
Finish
about?
the thought.
Okay,
Being more mindful about your body.
Being more mindful about your body. The idea of no pain, no gain, like I said before, is a whole bunch of crap, right? There's a big difference between me lifting up this. I've just been looking at this the whole time. I can't wait. So if I'm lifting up this hammer, this is so cool, bro. I love this thing.
Bottle opener.
Yeah, I know. I love that. My friend Mark Watchko, when I was visiting him, he has a actual replica of the thing.
Of Mjolnir?
Yeah, dude. I gotta show you some pictures later because he's got the coolest, geekiest man cave I've ever been in. It's so neat.
I was looking at the actual like.
I know from like actual mythology.
But I mean, like, have you watched any like the Marvel movies?
Yeah, of course.
So like Thor gets he gets an axe
Yeah,
later on.
the axe,
Stormbreaker,
which no one can pronounce.
Well, Stormbreaker.
Then that one have a special name too.
The smaller hammer is Mjolnir.
Right.
But the big axe, Stormbreaker, that was part of the logo for the podcast. And I was thinking, what if I got like an actual replica of it to keep in the studio? And honestly, to get a decent one, they're so expensive that I just couldn't justify it.
I know. It's well, you pay money for this, and I love it how is the words on it for the what's the father said? Odin's son. I love it. So if I'm curling this, right? Let's say the exercise, or I don't really have space to curl because my arms are so damn huge. If my exercise is to do, like wrist curls or something, which I think that's a stupid waste of your time, right? Under certain exceptions. And my idea is I'm doing this and I feel, okay, my muscles are activating and I feel sensation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I know that is a feeling of muscle tension, right? If I'm doing this a lot and it gets tiring, okay, now I know the muscles are tired. Great. That's fine. That's normal. The problem becomes, do I do this and do I feel it in my joints? Do I feel it in my ligaments? Do I feel pain? Right? No pain, no gain is bullshit. How we grew up is, quite frankly, the ideologies and what we believed in before is not all true. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. Just because you have a sports car doesn't also necessarily mean you should slam your foot on the gas pedal, right? The same thing I did with jiu-jitsu. I went back for the first time in over 14 months yesterday because of COVID. My mind knows what it needs to do. My body knows what it needs to do. My body wasn't used to it. So unless I mentally told myself, hey, I got to be mindful and slow down.
Well, see, that's the trick, because there's a lot of people that really don't have all the information that you have in your brain. They don't realize, like, oh, this is what I saw the guy do on Instagram, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, I feel something, but they don't realize what they're feeling is the wrong thing. Like you said, it could be tension on a joint or on ligaments. Or
it's like, oh, I thought
you're
I was doing this correctly.
You're not activating the right muscle group when you're doing that because you're not keeping your back straight.
Well, also the other problem is everyone think the conflicting information. Oh, you need to be sore the next day. Not necessarily. Just to think you're effectively working out. Oh, my muscle needs to actually be like twitching afterwards because it's a new group that I haven't hit in this specific way in a while. And now you know those involuntary contractions you might see in like
I get
your
this all
shoulder?
the time for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, could be some of your dehydration that you definitely is exaggeration about.
I get it in my left shoulder all the time.
Yeah, exactly. A whole bunch of calves and like little arm things and stuff, like biceps even. But it really depends.
I like the subtle flex of the camera. That was nice.
I'm trying.
Most people might not have caught it. I caught it though.
It's all good.
Very good.
Should have done the arm behind the back.
I got weights over here if you want to do a couple reps before we come back in.
Before we come back in. Oh, do you do like you have like sponsors and stuff? You do like no? Nah, it's all good. Keep it that way.
You know, my sponsor is the wife upstairs.
That's a very good sponsor. She lets you do it. That's enough. That's basically permission. I give you permission.
She doesn't give me a hard time.
I gave you permission to take over the shed in the garage.
In fact, she's actually supportive. That's the only sponsor I need.
You have a good woman then. Congratulations.
A great woman. Shout out to her.
Shout out to her for sure. The people with the lack of information becomes the problem.
Yeah.
What you see on the internet, the fact of the matter is, the easiest thing to sell to people are things that provide immediate gratification, keep people fat, and there was one other of those. This is why health is one of the hardest.
Skinny teas.
There you
That's
go.
the big thing you see now.
Immediate
Skinny
gratification.
Teas, the detox shakes.
Oh yeah, doesn't require you to do work. So minimal work required, immediate gratification, and will keep you feeling good, right? So I definitely fucked up one of those. Immediate gratification is a big one over there. And people that don't want to do work and get immediate gratification, there's a reason why drug dealers are hit about 3 a.m, right? It's not because it's like, oh, I need to think about it. Let me talk to my wife. Let me talk to my spouse kind of deal. That health is the complete opposite. It does require some work. It's not going to be always immediate gratification. A lot of times it's consistency over time. Okay, the result. You might get energy immediately. You might feel strong and feel good after the workout. but it's not necessarily you're going to lose all your weight tomorrow night after you pay me and after we start working together, right? So that's why health is one of the harder things because people don't see it from a logical perspective. We're all very emotionally entangled, and I think we should all be, emotions are really shitty decision makers. You buy the Lamborghini based on emotion. You justify it with logic. You tell the wife, oh, it's got great gas mileage and, blah, blah, blah. The reality, it's like, oh, I saw this guy drive it and I want my luscious beard. I was going to say hair, but it doesn't apply to you. Throw through the air and the drop top. And I always wanted to fly down the Autobahn and this thing.
I'm just thinking, I have a tendency when people make like analogies or metaphors, I always think too long and too deep about it.
Don't get lost in the sauce, my friend.
No. I'm just saying because like what kind of guy would buy a Lamborghini and bring it home and try to justify it by telling his wife, "Oh, it's got great gas mileage."
I just made an example.
I know. I'm. This is what I do.
But that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
Buy on emotion. You justify with logic. That is how the world basically is. You sell someone with emotion. You sell someone with your, a horrible, like tragic story, and you justify and now you're emotionally invested into this thing, and now you need a reason to buy it. That's not just that.
Well, you're working backwards from the conclusions. Like,
and I tell people,
the guy told me this is going to make me lose weight, so now I'm going to try to come up with the reasons why it's supposed to help me lose weight, even though it may not necessarily do that.
Exactly. They sell you into the multi-level marketing scheme, and you say, "Hey, but I can make more money off this." Or
social media is great for that because they have people that don't even use the product promoting the product, saying, "No, just drink this tea or drink these shakes."
That's a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down.
I mean,
do another
they
one
say
of these.
This is great. It does everything you need, but it's like you're not even using that. They're just paying you to promote that. Like, that's not how you got that six pack. You got that six pack by hard work and by actually eating right. Not by, overnight,
That's why I talk to people about supplements.
Yeah.
When I talk to people about supplements, and there's nothing wrong with it.
But it's
with
supplements.
It's
a supplemental to a healthy diet and healthy workout.
When I see Ronnie Coleman, his Yeah Buddy shake or whatever that I get promoted over to me, Ronnie Coleman's the OG bodybuilding.
A number peanut.
Yeah, buddy. So we have all that great stuff going on. But at the end of the day, this guy is not taking this stuff. It's, he did a lot of this with steroids. And that's okay, but let's be honest and open about that, and not
everybody's going to be shooting steroids.
Just because Kai Green is this enormous human being, like even Ronnie Coleman,
he's not that tall in real life.
It doesn't matter. This dude is still a titan.
I know he's insanely jacked.
The fun
and
thing,
he's got long hair too, which is does he?
It's
he
really cool.
He cut it off yet? Or?
I don't know, but he's just got like the ponytail, like Ronin style in the back. It's really freaking cool. What I learned funny over this weekend was that you can be jacked, shredded, or natural, and you have to pick two of them. You can be jacked and shredded, you're not natural. You can be jacked and natural, you're probably not shredded. You can be natural and shredded, you're probably not jacked.
I like that. It's true.
It's the truth. And of course, genetic exceptions to the rule for most people.
That's a clip right there.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even make that one up.
We're clipping that out, man.
Yeah.
In fact, if you're watching this, it's probably a clip on Instagram.
It's probably a clip. Shout out to Reels. Reels are a great way for Instagram likes to promote the new tools and stuff. That's what my assistant told me, at least. So that's why I've been doing more Reels and other things like that. Because at the end of the day, you do have to play the game a little bit.
Yeah.
But the hard part, like my friend posted a picture of him like half naked, and he was like, before I was building businesses, I was building boners, because he did like a Calvin Klein photo shoot, whatever, in underwear, and he was looking like like a freaking beast. Like he's jacked. He was shredded, also was on a little, I think, TRT or something like that, so it does break the rule in there. But at the end of the day, he goes into there, and that thing got so many engagements, so much. Sex sells all the time, right?
Yeah,
always, right? And that's that immediate gratification. He goes into there and the comment section, and he writes something in the nature of like, oh, it's so sad to see that all these people, like, where were you guys when I posted a week ago about I'm looking for more people to help build wells in Mozambique, Africa? It's like there's nothing wrong with liking my body, and then all of a sudden the engagement dropped off because the people who read that were like, damn,
they got us.
They got us.
Yep.
Right. So when it's like, where were you guys when we actually needed you? Like, we know you're here, we know you're watching, but it's more. Is it really more important that you can, have this addiction to this immediate gratification of looking at me versus when we actually invested in, and we did build wells, and it's awesome. We paid like, it's like $7,000 a well. We all chipped in a little bit. We had like 5 people or whatever. We're building a well in Mozambique, Africa right now. Financing, rather. We're not actually manually building it.
You're not down there in boots, with a shovel.
I can build more business. I can build more business and be able to finance more of them. It's more effective for me to do it than my lack of knowledge with hands and shovels and shit.
All right, so listen, let me ask you this. I'm gonna make this the last question because I feel like otherwise we
go all over the place.
Yeah, we're gonna go too far and we're gonna go on too many tangents.
Yeah.
So let me try to hone this down.
Yes.
You, Sam. All right, here's my question to you. Okay, this is the money right here. Why should we go to you? What do you got? What do you bring to the table? What are your hacks? What are your tips? What is the stuff that you figured out? Sell us. Sell yourself to me and to the audience.
It's funny.
I
don't feel like I ever should sell myself. I don't do that. It's funny because I'm not in a demand for business, and people who work with me should feel like, okay, this is the guy who's genuinely passionate about helping me, which I am.
But I mean, like, make your pitch.
Oh, sure. I can show you guys what's up. I can tell you about what I do. I work with people specifically with their problems. I come up with specific solutions. We come up with a plan. We execute on the plan, and we make adaptations over time. And I'm supporting you in the corner. What I do is very simple. But I don't ever convince people like, oh, you need to buy from me or you need to blah, blah. I hope you work with somebody else if you don't work with me. Because I know that coaching is going to be the answer for you. But I will definitely say that I genuinely care. The reason why people would work with me over someone like a Joe DeFranco or someone like that is because the time I give them and me as a person, who I am. If you watch this podcast, you have somewhat of an idea of, my values and my beliefs. And, you don't always see the funny. I'm being quite serious and I'm trying to have fun too. But, if you agree with me and you believe my values as a person, then I feel like you should absolutely work with me. I believe we're going to get along. If you don't get along with me, let me refer you out to someone who you do get along with who can do a very similar service. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I made the wheel very refined. I'm not doing anything super crazy over here, but I am very passionate. And if people are genuinely trying to make things happen, I can connect with them on that human level. Like I said, I'm not a person. I'm a personal trainer by profession. I'm a coach by choice. I choose to work with people by wanting to help them. Right?
Would you compare it to, say, like maybe somebody who has a therapist? You're not going to necessarily get the perfect one on the first shot. Yeah. You may have to go through a few to
I'm
to
very
find
good
the
at
one.
Adapting to people.
Exactly. You want to find the one that fits your personality and
I'm
your
good
style
at adapting to
best.
people, but if there is really something not clicking, like I said, honesty and open communication. Hey, listen, I have a feeling you're holding back a little bit on me. Would it be helpful if I referred you over to someone who maybe you felt a little more comfortable with? Maybe there was a woman who has issues with men for whatever the reason. And I could say, hey, listen, I feel like I'm not getting through to you the way that I would ultimately like to. I know an awesome woman coach who does very similar work to what I do. Not the exact same style, but very similar. I would love to put you two in touch. I don't care about referrals or anything like that. I want what's best for you. And that's how you know you're working with someone who genuinely cares. Because I'm fine to turn people away and say, hey, listen, this is not the best time for you. I think you should focus on this part of your mental health before you start going into this. I think you should focus on financial stability before you work with me as a coach. Because I genuinely care about, I want to see people do better, right? That is my ultimate thing. I am very genuinely passionate about people. I hurt someone's feelings by mistake recently, and that really bothered me. And that tells me, and I don't care. I was like, I don't care about the sell. I care that I didn't hurt your feelings, and I hope that, we can still have a friendship after this. The idea that you don't want to do business with your friends is a horrible one. I only want to do business with friends from now on. But there needs to be respect.
I'm going to push back.
That's
hard
okay.
on that
You can push back. There needs to be respect and open communication. If they don't respect, listen, if my neighbor who knows me since I was, in diapers doesn't respect me as a professional and can't keep that logic, it's like, oh, that's just Sam telling me what to do. No, look at me as, hey, this is the coach. He knows what's best for you. I like to have as much fun, get as much results as possible. I want to make this thing fun and sustainable for you. I want to have a good time. I want to be casual. I don't want you to send me a business email. Send me a text. You got my number. We're friends. Don't do all this crazy stuff.
So here's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I like your pitch. I like your approach. What I will say, and I think that maybe this is getting into a little just semantics, essentially.
By all means.
Your friends are people that you are friends with outside of business. You know what I mean? Now, your clients, people, you can be friendly with them. You can have a good working relationship, and it's casual. But I wouldn't go so far as to be friends with a client, only because that always tends to complicate the business relationship. And when you mix money and like business and personal, there's a reason people keep those things separate. You know what I mean? But that's not to say you can't be friendly and casual with those clients.
I'll push back a little bit on that.
Okay,
I personally believe that, it's a lot more benefit. I personally believe that we should all be a lot more closer as people. The people who are like I played Mario Kart with some of my clients. That's fun for me. I don't care, I don't care. Maybe I'm getting paid for that. I get paid month to month anyway. I'm not worried about the time per hour, right? And I work online with people, and it's fine. If that's what the client perceives as value to them, we're happy to do that. I find that it's a lot easier to work with people who are friends than people who are just business, because then it's like you look at it like contract, and then adds stress to the equation. Then you're like, oh, I'm working with this guy. Like, oh, my friend's hooking me up. You know, he works with me. It's great. We have a close relationship. We're tight. He sends me videos about, you know, this stupid meme and back and forth. Like, obviously, I keep it professional.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna go in there and start complaining about my personal life. It's friendly, but I definitely call them my friends. I would definitely call them, you know. And when things, you know, if they have to pause or they have to take time or they have finance a situation and whatever, COVID's made things complicated, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, listen, we're still friends. I don't want any hard feelings. Still hit me up with that stuff. You're a cool person. Let's keep it rocking. I don't care. And when you're ready to hop back in, I got no problems. No hard feelings.
All right.
I keep things super casual, man.
I like the casual. The casual is something I'm a fan of.
Yeah, I don't like all this stress and like, you buy from me, don't buy from me. It's okay. You know, I got demand. You know, you don't want to pay me less. I made you a deal. I got people who pay me more. That's fine too. I want to help people, and I rather work with, you know, one person who's super friendly than 5 assholes, in my personal opinion.
Sam, I tell you, I like your attitude. I
Thank
wish you nothing but the best of luck. I hope people watching,
Before we
listening.
finish it, I didn't answer your full question about how I work with people. So specific, I don't want the people who are watching this to say he ignored that question either. And there's also a whole bunch of other stuff I do, and we can always talk about that on another podcast. Definitely more down to do this again. When I work with people, of course, so I look at the specific information and I say, okay, this is the best solution for what I'm seeing right now. And over time, we're going to say, okay, how is your body responding to this? That's why I feel like the one size fits all. Because a lot of people will say, hey, Steve, you're a month 1 client. Here's month 1 generic program. How do you do with that? Great. Well, here's month 2 generic program. Keep it moving. Or here's this meal plan. Or here's this meal plan. And I'm just sending you PDFs for knowledge, which you can quite frankly find online. That's why custom work matters. Because you and your shoulder need something different than someone who has a healthy shoulder. And you and your type 1 diabetes, we need to address you a little bit differently than someone who's a completely normal individual with normal A1C levels, right? So all of these specific details matter. And as I see and it's the end of the day, nobody knows exactly what you need.
It's trial and error.
It's educated trial and error. It's not the best way. It doesn't sound as attractive that way because first of all, I'm pretty damn good at getting it the first time around. And worst case scenario,
that was a good clarification. Educated trial and error.
It's
because anybody could do trial and error.
Anyone can just say, "Oh, a bench press ain't working. Let me try to do this crazy exercise CrossFit."
It takes
thing.
someone who has the knowledge to recognize, all right, this didn't work for that reason, so maybe now we have to try this specific thing.
My first rule of thumb is like a surgeon do no harm, right? So I say, okay, if this thing is going to be, if this thing causes pain to you, right? And I didn't even finish my definition of pain. Pain is that anything kind of violent adjective, sharp, pinching, cramping, snapping, tearing, popping. If you feel that, you need to stop immediately. Realize that is not normal. If I feel, a tingling sensation from the top of my C1 all the way into my pinky, this is not normal what you should feel when you're doing a horizontal row. And we need to stop this immediately. And don't push through that because that's not normal. I need you to recognize that and be cognizant. Oh, I'm eating more and more and I keep getting back from seconds. Are you actually hungry or are you just doing it out of enjoyment? Because we need to be responsible with our food. Just because you have a sports car doesn't mean you should floor the gas all the time, right? You got to know your limitations. You got to recognize and make logical decisions. Everyone makes emotional-based decisions. And I even bring that up when I talk to people on the phone. I'm like, I don't want you to buy with me based on emotion. I want you to work with me. If you're going to work with me, I want you to do an awful logical thing, right? And I've emotionally sold people before. And you know what? If that's what some people need to make that push for the better of themselves, I know what I do is honest and good. So I don't feel bad about doing that at all. Right? Because I'm not selling people phone plans. I'm not selling people new electricity and Ponzi scheme shit. I'm genuinely offering a service that's going to help improve your quality of your life, live longer, higher quality, who knows how much higher level of impact you can have and just by having more time and not having to worry about health. Because health is the ultimate death down factor for people at the end of the day. So when I'm working with people and, I want them to say, hey, listen, I want you to buy with me. If you choose to go with me, I want this to be because this is the smartest decision for you at the end of the day. This is logical. It is logical to think that if you spend, a tenth of the cost of a traditional in-person turn to work with me online, that for everything you're getting, this is a steal. And you know what? We're going to have a lot of fun during this process too. I want this to be a logical, not emotionally based decision because emotion's willpower and logic is that how we get that consistency over time, sustainability.
So Sam, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
StrongerBySam.com. Stronger by Sam on Facebook. Hit me up personally. You can reach me on my business page, fine. And Stronger by Sam on Instagram. I'm pretty much everywhere.
If you're watching, the link is right above. And if you're listening, the link is going to be in the episode bio. So,
hell yes.
And obviously on the Instagram clip, wherever. So, brother, I appreciate you coming out here, man.
Yeah, no doubt, bro.
Glad we got to do this.
And you know what's funny?
You're not an intern anymore.
Definitely not. definitely went through some trials and tribulations over this past year. You know what? I got so much more to talk about, but let's save these people's attention for another day.
Yeah, we want to. We'll have to do another one because
we
could go on for a couple more hours.
I want to talk about business. I want to talk about all that other stuff that I learned over this past year.
Mm-hmm.
I got so much more right here, bro. We're gonna have fun.
Next time, stay tuned.
If y'all want to see more, subscribe to this guy. I don't know how you guys do it, but I'm trying to give you some love.
apodamongstmen@gmail.com for any comments, questions, or concerns. You guys know where to find us on YouTube. A Pod Amongst Men. Like, subscribe. You guys know the drill with that. And A Pod Amongst Men. Search iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. And A Pod Amongst Men, Instagram and Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter too because I'm gonna do a little more on there. Stay tuned. Once I actually do get back into the swing.
I keep Twitter for my memes. It's a hilarious platform.
I do the memes on Instagram. Either way, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.